Hi everyone, welcome back to Information Economics. Today we will do our lecture 12. Again, it's a discussion about moral hazard or the hidden action problems. Today we will discuss the paper written by Chen and Huang. Professor Chen is again my Berkeley PhD advisor, and Professor Huang is a professor in the Department of Information Management, I mean Information Systems, at the National University of Singapore. Okay, we're going to discuss this paper to show you more ideas about moral hazard and in particular the mixture of adverse selection and moral hazard. So we will do introduction in this video, and in the next video we will discuss a model that is even more simpler than the model proposed by the two professors. We will do the analysis to get you some insights. Afterwards, in the last video, we will go back to the model they proposed, and the analysis, the more general results, and extensions and conclusions. Okay, so the problem is regarding how do people price data services. So what is data services? Okay, actually we are using them every day. For example, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, you are using text messages on your cell phone, okay? Or when you were a child, actually when I was a child, probably you did not. When I was a child, we used dial-up, okay, to get to the internet. Okay, the speed was very slow, and every time when you want to get the connection, you need to click some buttons and blah blah and enter some passwords. Okay, but we all have passed the era of ADSL. Okay, so that's typically what you are using when you are at home. Okay, on the broadband internet connection. Okay, so these internet services are the internet service providers. They give you the access of data or online data. So that's some kind of data services. And finally, when you are using your smartphone, if you can access to the 3G or even 4G networks, then that's again data services. Okay, so today everyone is using almost everyone is using data services every day. So the question is, if you are the seller, for example, the internet service providers, if you are the ISP, how would you price these data services? We ask this question, and we believe this question is natural because different data services seems to be priced in different ways. For example, when you were using text messages, typically that's priced by quantities, by the how many text messages you sent to different friends for example, in 1 month. Okay, according to how many text messages you sent. Another possibility is for your dial-up, for my dial-up internet connection. At that period of time, we do this by we are charged by the number of minutes we get to the internet. Okay, so it's priced by time. Or when we are using ADSL or broadband connection, typically is a fixed monthly fee is charged according to different bandwidth. Okay, if I want a higher connection speed, then I need to pay more. Yeah, that's typically the case. Or for 3G and 4G networks, it's go back to priced by quantity, right? Typically we say if I buy 1 gigabytes per month, I need to pay a certain amount. If it's 5 gigabytes, it's another dollars. Or if I can buy an all-you-can-eat plan, then it's another amount of money. So it's charged according to quantity. So if there are so many different ways, how do I know which one should I use? Okay, how do I know how should I price these services? That's my question. So why those different services are priced under different pricing metrics? Metrics are those things that you count and your basis for measurements. Okay, for example, by quantity, that means you measure how many text messages they sent and charge according to that quantity. So we are asking for different pricing matrices. How do I know which one should I use? Okay, so there are certainly some supply side reasons. For example, technology limits. What does it mean? About 20 years ago, the connection speed cannot be high. Okay, there are very few very few options for you to choose among connection speeds. For example, for typical home users in Taiwan about 20 years ago, you just do not have different options for bandwidth. Okay, you just have only one speed. So in that case, it's impossible for you to charge by bandwidth, right? If everyone is using the same connection speed. So that's something we call supply side reasons. But we know today it is not the case. For example, ADSL, there are so many different speeds. 4G can even be as fast as ADSL. Yeah. So is there any consumer side reasons? When we are doing the pricing, typically we want to get as much money as possible. We want to maximize our sales revenues. Okay? And then we are asking, when we are choosing pricing metrics, what are those consumer side factors we need to care about? How do consumers react to our pricing plans? Okay, so we are looking for consumer side reasons for choosing pricing metrics. So we know people are doing this today, every day. Those commercial ISPs, they are doing this, and typically practitioners, they do decisions. Sometimes are effective, sometimes are ineffective, but typically they do not do decisions with or using scientific methods. They may are very experienced in choosing the correct or most effective way, but even if the method works, they cannot tell you why it works. So as a researcher, we want to know whether those things that they are doing is really good, is really correct, or actually those data services should be priced in a different way. We want to use scientific methods to ask this question. So let's see something more about pricing matrices. We're going to discuss a seller that are just data service providers. Okay. We're going to say that a seller wants to provide this service to consumers. Okay, so there will be sellers and consumers in our model. In the basic model, the cost for offering services will be ignored. Okay, we will focus on the consumer side. So we will assume there is no cost for providing such a service. You may imagine or you may convince yourself that this is the case because all those servers and routers and those links have been built. Okay, so they are just gone, or they are sunk cost. So now everything you have, all the problem you have is how do you price your consumers? Okay, in some sense, as long as the bandwidth is large enough, you don't need to worry about the cost for offering these costs. Right? Because data services, data are somehow data are just some kind of information goods, right? So the reproduction cost is just negligible. Yeah. So that's our assumption. The cost will be ignored, and if you read the paper, at the end, the cost has been added back. Okay, and so the seller wants to find a revenue maximizing pricing plans. Here, revenue maximization and the profit maximization are just the same thing because there's no cost. Okay, in this slide, we're going to call it revenue maximization. We're going to see that consumers are heterogeneous on their willingness to pay for data usage and the connection speeds. Okay. Some people really care about connection speed. They really need very high speed if they want to play online games, right? But as for me, I only go to PTT and Facebook and while they're doing emails, So connection speed is not a big deal for me. Different people have different willingness to pay for connection speed. For data usage is the same thing, right? I only need 5 megabytes or just 1 gigabyte for a monthly usage on my smartphone. But some people really need all you can eat because they use data services intensively. So people are different. We need to take that into consideration. Okay, so because consumer types are hidden, as a seller, I can only adapt the second degree or third degree price discrimination. Okay, to give you a reminder, in the second degree price discrimination, we price according to how much they use, how many they buy. And for third degree price discrimination, we price them according to attributes or their identities. Okay, somehow we just want to guess how much you like my product. If you want to buy more, then that somehow means your valuation is higher. Anyway, in this paper, we will focus on second degree price discrimination and the following pricing matrices, either pricing by time, by bandwidth, or by quantity. Okay, according to how long do you get to use this service, what's the bandwidth you are getting, or the total data, the total amount of data you download or upload during your usage. Okay, we are considering these 3 pricing metrics. We want to ask which one is the best. Okay, so that's the research question. Here, what's interesting is that we have some kind of consumers after sales selection. So consumers, they do not just have hidden types. They also have these hidden after sales selections or hidden actions. Let's see what are them. For example, suppose I am priced by time. I can select my connection speed by choosing what's the software or applications I want to use, right? There is a limit on the amount of time you can use, but the connection speed is not specified, so you may select the connection speed that can maximize your utility. Or if I am priced by bandwidth, for example, when I sign ADSL contracts with HiNet, then I get a fixed bandwidth. Then I need to decide each evening when I go home, how much time I want to spend on internet. Okay, I can select time. Or if I am priced by quantity, I can select time or speed, right? So consumers, after they sign contracts with the seller, they have some flexibility in choosing their behaviors. They will make self-selections to maximize their expected profit or expected utility. Exactly what we are doing with moral hazard or hidden action. There are something you cannot observe, you cannot control. You cannot control, you cannot contract them according to that. Then you need to somehow take that into consideration when you are making your contract or plans. So each consumer, as we mentioned, acts to maximize his own utility. So the selection of pricing metrics must be aware of the hidden information and hidden action, the heterogeneity of consumers, and the after-sales selections. So the research question that wrap up everything here. The seller wants to find a revenue maximizing pricing metrics by time, by bandwidth, or by quantity. Now, what's the condition for one to be better than the others? If we want to find the optimal pricing metric, we need to somehow first solve nonlinear pricing problems when we are given each metric. So if I say I want to see how good it is to price by time, I need to solve the optimal contract design problem when I want to price by time. Okay, so for each metric, I need to solve a contract design problem facing information asymmetry. Okay, and in each case, we want to somehow get some ideas about, do I want to use multi-tiered usage? That means usage-based pricing, Or do I want to use unlimited usage pricing? Oh, that means all you can eat, or a fixed fee payment. Or I want to combine some of them? Oh, that's my question. And if we want to solve the nonlinear pricing problem, I need to first anticipate how consumers will do after they sign each contract. So if you go back to check the paper we did last time, salesperson can take their actions after they sign contracts alpha beta with the resellers. Here is the same thing. After the consumer sign a contract with the ADSL providers or the 3G network providers, they can do after sales selections. That's something must be anticipated by the seller. So the seller needs to solve all these questions, and then they can compare for the optimal pricing metrics. As a researcher, we want to not just solve these problems. We want to know what are those reasons for a pricing metric to be the best. Okay? If, for example, pricing by bandwidth is the best, we want to ask why. What's the reason? And in particular, we want to find those reasons, find those driving forces from the perspective of information, or from the perspective of information asymmetry. Okay? So eventually we will do this. Solve all these problems, answer why. Okay? Thank you.